There's a rumor that maybe you were going to be the GM of the Raiders in the early 2000s.
Was it a rumor?
It was a rumor.
I grew very close with Al.
Yep.
And I would watch practice with him, and he just saw things. He kind of taught me how to see all 22 and not be fixated on the quarterback and the tightness to kind of pull back, after every, God, the left guard, what the hell is he doing? So I'm like, how do you see that? So we were tight, and he would call me. There was times when he couldn't get to practice, and, did you go today? What'd you see? What do you got? And then, so one day, I'll never forget this, we were playing Houston in the preseason. He says to me, would you ever want to come work for me? And I go, what do you mean work for you? I do work for you.
Yeah.
But I didn't work directly for the Raiders. So he said, no, work for me in personnel, and, you know the game. And so I'm like, what? He talked about a succession plan. He'd lost Bruce, he lost Lombardi. He didn't really have people it was hard, if you didn't know him, it was hard to get his trust. And I had been around him a lot. In both good and bad times. But anyway, he wanted me to be, and he was the general manager, but he was also the owner, and he wanted to groom me to run the football department, is what he wanted me to do. And he laid it out, you got to talk to, each player on the team at least once a week. I can train you. And at first I thought, am I qualified for this? I don't have a background for this. And then I reached out to Bruce Allen, who was in Washington now. And Bruce said, go through all the GMs in the league and tell me what their backgrounds are. So when I looked at it, at first I thought, I'm not qualified to do this. The media will bury me. But then when you looked at it, there wasn't necessarily a background, in playing or coaching. And Al never played. Al never coached. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, yeah, this would be, you're asking me to work with you on a daily basis. Well, first I thought, Al and I got along because I didn't work for him. Mm. But if we had worked together every day, we would have fought.
But
he would, because one time he bit my head off, like, oh, F you, what do you know? You don't know anything. I'm like, oh, fuck, screw you. Like, yeah. But he kind of liked that a little bit. But then to a point we could go our separate ways. So it was moving in that direction. Ultimately, he offered me a job that paid me less money than I made from doing 30 San Francisco Giants games. And I'm like, oh, come on. I'm going to give up 40 years, whatever it was at that time, 30 years of broadcasting, and and you're going to pay me less. And
can't really go back to broadcasting after.
How could I? I don't know. Yeah, that would have been the risk. It never ended. We talked about it all the way till he died. Mm-hmm. And I remember talking to him the Wednesday before he died, and it just never happened. I think there wasn't a sense of urgency for him because he didn't think he was going to die. And I don't know how it would have worked. But it never ended. And then he just died. And, I was really extremely sad that he had died that way. But it also was my dream had died, that this was never good. I talked to Mark 2 or 3 months after he died, and I said, did you talk to him? He said, yeah. He said, I'll hire you. You come work for us, but he said, I can't guarantee a job, beyond that. Right. Yeah. But I remember being at Al's funeral, and John Madden came up to me, and he said, Al told me all about what he was grooming you for, and he said, I think you could have done it. And he said, what do you think happened? And I said, I think he just died.
Wow.
And John said, that's what happened.